In this section we talked about issues, security, data privacy and copyrights. And it's important that you understand if you use strong models over the API, one of the issues is that the API costs can get eventually too high. If you use, on the other hand, weak AI models, the API costs will be lower, but the failure rate will be higher. If you use local LLMs, they are completely for free, but the output will also be the worst. You need to make here a judge for yourself. If you just want to play with local agents, completely go for it. But if you want to build an application for other people, just use the best models and pay a little bit more in these API costs. Besides that, you saw that there are also some possibility for attacks. It is possible that some people go to jailbreak your AI agent, and this can eventually be harmful. Then it's also the possibility that prompt injections are included in web pages, and if your agent scarps, for example, such a web page where such a prompt injection is included, it is possible that people get fraud links from your agent. Normally this should not happen. This will only happen if you allow this agent to go into the web pages and search for information, and if your agent scarps web pages with these fraud links. But you never know, all of this can eventually happen. And lastly, we talked about data poisoning. It is eventually possible, but it is not likely. If you work, for example, over an API, the likelihood is nearly zero. Then we talked about copyrights and data privacy. Generally speaking, you can create whatever you want, and OpenAI even steps in and protects you if you get legal claims, for example. If you use open source LLMs, generally speaking, you can also create whatever you want, unless you are Apple or you have more than 700 million active monthly users. But I would guess that you are not Apple. And if you worry about your own data privacy or the privacy of your clients, don't worry, because all of these companies tell you that you are safe. And if you don't want to believe big tech companies use open source models on your local PC, but you already know it, they will be most likely a little bit weaker. Unless you have a cluster of H100 GPUs and you can run a 400 billion parameter model, then you are completely safe with a really strong model. Congratulations. And if we talk about compliance, clearly define data collection and legal basis upfront. Utilize GDPR compliance tools and frameworks, and then is fine. Also the OpenAI API is fine. And of course, if you use the OpenAI API, make your projects in the right place. And you should always check your application and have a good documentation. Of course, you assess the chatbot risk level, clearly inform users that they are interacting with AI, use high-quality, diverse datasets to minimize bias, develop a clear technical documentation, and you as a human should take a look from time to time at these things. And please, you should never forget, every single LLM can and probably will make mistakes over time. None of these outputs are guaranteed. They are just calculating the next most likely token, and there's always a likelihood that the next most likely token is not the right token for you. So this output can also be wrong. But you never get a 100% guarantee that things are accurate. Even studies show different results. People on social media can lie. Articles on Google can be completely false. You never know the real truth. For example, a few thousand years ago, most people had thought that the Earth is flat. That was the truth of their time. Now, most people think no longer that the Earth is flat. So basically, make with this whatever you want. I'm just here to tell you not everything that an LLM tells you must be true. So what you have learned? You have learned that LLM can make mistakes. You can do nothing about it, but you should use the right API for your application or local models if you don't trust all of these companies. That's what you learned, so please behave in that manner. Only then you have learned. You have only learned if you change behavior. If you do not want to trust OpenAI, use local models. If you think this is fine, use the OpenAI models and pay a little bit more for the API costs for the best outputs. In that manner, you have learned a lot, and of course you know that good learners learn together, and you also know that nobody watches a course until right now and skips the last section, because the next section is the last section. This will be fast, so I see you with a 100% guarantee in the next one.